This is the ultimate guide to planning your first Carnival cruise so you do not make any big mistakes that will ruin your vacation.
Christmas is canceled.
You will learn about the big 5 categories to consider before you even start looking for your cruise. Because you are watching this video, you will not make the mistake of overlooking the hidden costs of cruising, picking the wrong cruise ship, or picking the wrong cruise ship cabin. I am also going to share how I first got started cruising on Carnival and how I planned my first Carnival cruise. Cruises, so much stuff. My name is Ruben and I am not a cruise expert, but I play one on TV. Cruising is my second favorite thing to do, and my favorite thing to do is share all the tips and tricks I have learned with all of you. Today we are talking about how to plan your first Carnival cruise, but even if you are a seasoned Carnival cruiser, I bet you will learn something new. There are 5 big categories to consider and lots of smaller ones when planning your first Carnival cruise. Budget, destination, sailing dates, cruise ship class, and cruise ship cabin type. Although I went on a few cruises when I was growing up, my first cruise as an adult was not until April 2018 on the Carnival Inspiration. Being pre-rich, I had a tiny budget and maximized every dollar I spent. Stay tuned because I will share what I did to plan my first cruise and what things have changed in the past 7 years since I first started cruising and how I plan my 2025 cruises. At the very end, I will show you how to use everything that you learn to plan your first cruise. Choosing to cruise. Before we even get to the big 5 cruise category decisions, I want to talk briefly about 2 things you have probably thought a little bit about. If you already know you want to sail on a Carnival cruise, feel free to skip ahead. Is a cruise even for you? I know some of you just know that you want to go on a cruise, but a few of you aren't sure. Or you may be traveling with family and friends that aren't sure. For most people, if you are not sure, go on a shorter, less expensive cruise and try it out. However, I think there are 3 types of people who should think twice before going on your first cruise. Number 1, if you get motion sick easily or you know you get seasick, of course there are ways around this, but being seasick can ruin your entire cruise trip. Number 2, you are claustrophobic and do not like the idea of being stuck on a ship. Finally, number 3, you just don't want to. That's totally fine. There are some people who already know they just do not want to go on a cruise. Choosing a cruise line. Okay, so you know you want to go on a cruise. Usually the second thing people figure out is which cruise line to go on. When I started sailing with Carnival in 2018, I did so because they were the most budget-friendly cruise line. This definitely can be a factor, but I keep sailing on Carnival because so many other amazing things that we will get to later. I'm not going to cover other cruise lines because for now, I am focusing on Carnival because I love cruising with them. Personal vacation planner. Before we get into the good stuff, I do want to recommend that you use a personal vacation planner or PVP. Even if you're like me and you research and figure out every possible thing that you need to, I still book with a PVP. Now, this is not a sponsored message at all because I am sharing just what I do myself. While you do not get any special discounts or deals by booking with a PVP, there are a few tricky situations that are much easier to deal with because the PVP can handle them for you. Everything from changing names last minute to answering random questions or even helping you cancel a booking, which has happened to me. If you do not have a PVP, check out Remington Hart or Remy. His info is below and in the description. Now, I do not get paid anything for recommending him. He's just the person that I use and he's been great. Well, tell him that I sent you and maybe they will start sponsoring me. Now that you know you want to cruise on Carnival, here are 5 big categories to consider before you even start looking for your first cruise. The first big category is budget because most people do not have an unlimited supply of money. This is everything you need to know about budgeting for your first Carnival cruise. If you're planning your first Carnival cruise, you are probably thinking about your budget. But there is so much more to consider, like the hidden costs of Carnival Cruises that nobody talks about. Danger! We are going to talk about what is included in your Carnival Cruise, what things you need to pay for, timing for what you need to pay and when, as well as optional additions that can add to your bottom line. Most cruises. Initially, you might just think about how much a cruise costs, but there are a lot of other things you need to consider when planning your first cruise vacation. What's included in your Carnival Cruise? Most cruises. Carnival Cruises are a great value for the money because of everything you get as part of your cruise. If you have never been on a cruise before, you might not know what things are included and what things are not. First of all, when you book a cruise, you get a stateroom or cabin to stay in. We will talk later about the types of cabins that are available. This gives you a place to stay, much like a hotel room. However, know that cruise cabins are much smaller than hotel rooms. I thought it had more space! Also included in your cruise fare is getting to and from each port and destination. You might stop in Mexico, Hawaii, or the Bahamas. You do not need to pay anything extra to get off the ship to explore these destinations. Also included are tons of entertainment options like comedy shows, outdoor activities, mini golf and sports, variety shows, musical theater shows, pool, hot tub, water slides, and even a gym. Whichever ship you choose, there will be tons of free things for you to do as part of your base cruise fare. One thing that Carnival is a class leader on is the amount of free casual dining food options. There are tons of food included as part of your cruise fare. First, there are the inclusive or free restaurants. These are the restaurants that you get as part of your cruise ship fare, and you do not need to pay anything extra to eat on them. Most of the restaurants, in fact, there are 8 of them, are free. You don't have to pay anything. And this is part of what makes cruising amazing, are all the free or included options. But there are some things that are additional charges. Many first-time cruisers are surprised when things like soda or bottled water are an additional charge. There are also some specialty restaurants like coffee and the steakhouse that are additional charges. Check out this video where I rank every food option on the Carnival Radiant. Pro tip, if you are not sure what is free versus what you have to pay extra for, just ask. When looking at menus, if you see a dollar amount, it is an additional charge. But be aware that just because an amount is not listed does not mean that there is not an additional charge. Fees you need. Okay, so you have accounted for your cabin fare, but many people overlook other necessary costs to account for in their budget. Thankfully, in 2024, a law was passed so that port fees and taxes and other extra things are shown for you when you are searching for your cruise fares so they do not sneak up on you. However, there are still 3 other things you need to account for. Number 1 is gratuities. Carnival charges gratuities for all guests who sail with them. This is to help tip the workers who take care of us on the ship. This will not show up on your bill when you initially book your cruise unless you select the option to prepay your gratuities. If you do not select this option, you will automatically be charged a fee on your last sailing day, and this surprises many first-time cruisers. I am the type of person who likes to take care of the people who take care of me, so I always budget and prepay my gratuity. This makes it so much easier for me to budget because I know exactly how much I will be spending and do not get a surprise charge on the last day of my cruise. Carnival charges $16 per person per day for a standard stateroom and $18 per person per day for suite staterooms. Number 2, just about anything you buy on the cruise ship that requires some sort of service, like beverages, specialty dining, or a spa service, will automatically add an 18% gratuity. Every time you order something, even if it is part of a beverage plan, you will be asked to sign a receipt. Because tips are always automatically added, you do not need to add another tip to make a double tip unless you want to. Number 3, insurance. Carnival gives you the option to purchase their own travel insurance. You are also able to add third-party insurance to cover medical expenses or even a canceled trip. I used to never buy insurance, thinking that that was a smart way to save money.
I am smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
However, after looking to insurance more and hearing horror stories about huge medical bills and people not getting refunds when they have had to cancel their cruise, I started buying insurance. In 2024, I purchased a cruise and got third-party insurance for a cruise that I was supposed to take next month, but I had to cancel. Fortunately, I purchased cruise insurance with cancel for any reason coverage, and because I also used the PVP, I was able to get a refund on part of my cruise and then use my third-party insurance coverage to get almost all of everything back as well. When all was said and done, I only lost $75 for canceling my entire cruise. This could have been $900 or more. Let me know in the comments below what you think about cruise insurance and if you think that I should make a video about my cruise insurance experience and what things you might need to consider. Travel. Even if you live 5 minutes from your cruise port and you walk there, you need to take into account certain travel expenses for your cruise. If you are close enough to drive to your cruise port, you may need to account for parking or taking an Uber there. If you need to fly into your cruise port, then you will need to account not only for your flight, but the hotel room. And it is always highly recommended to fly in at least a day before your cruise, just in case your flight gets delayed or canceled. During the big CrowdStrike outage in 2024, I heard so many people not being able to get to their cruise port, even flying in 2 days before. This is another reason to get travel insurance. Payment time. As you do your budgeting, you need to know that when you first book your cruise, you will need to make a deposit. The amount of the deposit will change, and sometimes you can get deals with lower deposits. Deposits are usually non-refundable. You should read the fine print because sometimes if you want to cancel a cruise, there are cancellation fees and you may still need to pay more than your initial deposit if you cancel your cruise. Because a lot of first-time cruisers get tripped up because of things like cancellations. For all cruises, your final payment will be due anywhere from 76 to 91 days prior to your sailing, depending on the total length of your cruise. Make sure to set a calendar reminder for when your final payment is due, because if you miss it, your cruise will be canceled and you will not get any money back. Speaking of cruise cancellations, life happens and sometimes you might need to cancel your cruise. This just happened to me, and fortunately, I was able to get back almost everything I paid because I purchased travel insurance with added cancel for any reason coverage, and I worked with the PVP. But be aware that different insurance coverages will have different terms, so read the fine print because many cruisers are caught off guard because of cancellation fees. You almost never get a full refund if you need to cancel your cruise, even because of tragic circumstances. Other budget additions. Those are the costs you will always have to think about, even if you opt out of things like travel insurance and you walk to the port. But there are tons of other things that you might not think about for your cruise that can quickly add up to more costs for your trip. You will want to think about these things and pre-plan or budget for these things that are additional charges, like a sky park, trampoline, and even a cruise ship with a roller coaster on top. This includes things like soda, Wi-Fi, bottled water, specialty dining, excursions, the spa, the casino, and all the food and random things you might buy at your destination ports. One big thing that people always ask about are the alcoholic beverage plans. Yes, adult beverages are an additional charge and you can purchase them individually or get the Cheers beverage program. As of December 2024, the price is $82.54 per person per day, which includes the 18% gratuity. Drinks are around $12, give or take. So if you will drink 6 alcoholic beverages or more every day, then the drink package is definitely something to consider because it also includes sodas, energy drinks, and specialty coffees. A few things to note about the Cheers drink beverage package is that you only get a maximum of 15 drinks every 24 hours, and that people older than 21 in the same stateroom as you also need to purchase the program. Also, not every alcoholic beverage is included. There are some super fancy drinks that are not included. Also, wine and champagne bottles are not included either, but you do get 25% off of those purchases. If you just want unlimited sodas, that is $11.21 per day for adults and $8.20 per day for kids. Category 2, location and destination. The next biggest consideration many people think about when booking their first cruise is destination. There are 16 destinations that Carnival sails to: Alaska, the Caribbean, Mexico, Australia, the Bahamas, Europe, the Panama Canal, New Zealand, Bermuda, Greenland, Canada, Transatlantic, South Pacific, New England, Hawaii, and the Trans-Pacific. Most cruises are closed loop, meaning that you start and end your cruise in the same location. There are some special journey cruises that offer special destinations or themes. Some of these may last months or even years. Finally, there are repositioning cruises where a cruise ship needs to go from one place to another, maybe to get service or get something done to it for maintenance. For your first cruise, I definitely recommend a closed loop cruise. Category number 3, sailing dates. After budget and destination, most people also consider the date of their sailing. This could be because of work or vacation schedules or your kids' school schedules and breaks. Some destinations do not even have sailings in certain times, like a winter cruise to Alaska. Other tropic destinations are very popular during the summer months. When you sail probably has the biggest impact on price. If you sail during an off week, you can get a bigger, newer, fancier ship for less than the smallest, oldest, cheapest ship during busy times. Summer school and major holidays like Christmas, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, or spring break are all peak times of the year when cruise prices are the highest. For lower prices, January, February, May, and June, after Labor Day, and early December between Thanksgiving and Christmas are some great times to cruise to get some amazing deals. Category number 4, cruise ship class. What is the best Carnival cruise ship class for you? You do not want to book your dream vacation only to realize that your cruise ship is missing the very thing you were looking forward to the most.
Failure.
Did you know that Carnival has 27 ships grouped in 8 different Carnival cruise ship classes? All 8 of these cruise ship classes have their pros and cons. Many first-time cruisers overlook the ship class when looking to book their first cruise, which could ruin your vacation. But you won't make that mistake because you are watching this ultimate guide to Carnival cruise ship classes.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Double Caribbean. Today we are talking about all of the different Carnival cruise ship classes. One thing that many first-time cruisers overlook is the class or type of ship they sail on. Ships that are made around the same time and have similar designs and features will be in the same class of ship. By mid-2025, Carnival will have 8 classes of ships and 29 ships total. This is the second most of any cruise line, second only to Royal Caribbean. Ships are categorized by class, so if you have sailed on one ship, a different ship within the same class will feel very similar, if not identical. They are almost like cruise ship sisters. Stay to the end for the pros and cons. Excel class ship. Historically, Carnival has leaned away from the mega ships that Royal Caribbean is well known for. However, very recently, Carnival has launched Excel class ships with the Mardi Gras, Celebration, and Jubilee. These 3 Excel class ships are the largest ships in Carnival's fleet and have special things like a roller coaster on the top that no other cruise ships have. These Excel class ships will sail with double occupancy at 5,300 people. Double occupancy is the standard way to count cruise ship occupancy, counting 2 people to a room. However, many people will want to fit more people into a room, so there is also a maximum capacity for cruise ships. The max capacity for these Excel class ships is a whopping 6,630 people. Vista Venezia class. The next smaller class is the Vista or Venezia class, which includes the Panorama, Horizon, Vista, Venezia, and Firenze. Some highlights of these ships include the Skyride and keycard restricted access to certain areas. The Panorama even has a trampoline park. The Vista and Horizon have an IMAX theater. The Firenze and Venezia are unique ships that look completely different than other Carnival ships because they came over from Carnival Cruise's sister ship line, Costa. Carnival cruisers either love or hate these ships. These Vista class ships sail with around 4,000 people at double occupancy. Dream class. Next up is the Dream class with the Breeze, Magic, and Dream. These are a little smaller than the Vista class ships, but still feature very similar features and have almost as many people with 3,600 people double occupancy. The Splendor class is unique because it only has one ship, the Carnival Splendor. This is another Costa ship, but it looks just like your traditional Carnival ship, including the famous whale tail. The Splendor ship has around 3,000 double occupancy. Conquest class. Next up is the Conquest class that is even smaller with less amenities, with the Freedom, Liberty, Valor, Glory, and Conquest. These have around 3,000 in double occupancy. Spirit class. The Spirit class includes the Miracle, Legend, Pride, Spirit, and Luminosa. These are unique all-weather ships with a lower profile to duck under bridges and to sail through all kinds of different weather. These are some of the smallest ships with 2,100 double occupancy, but they have more balconies and ocean view cabins than other Carnival ships because of their unique design. Sunshine class. Some of my favorite ships are the Sunshine class, including the Sunshine, Sunrise, and Radiance. These are former Destiny class ships and are technically some of the oldest ships, but feel newer because they were gutted and remodeled from the ground up in 2013, 2019, and 2021, with the Radiance being the newest. This is one reason I love these class of ships because they are smaller at around 3,000 for double occupancy and have a more intimate feel, but still have some of the newer things on board as the fancier, newer ships. Fantasy class. Last up is the Fantasy class with the Paradise and Elation. These are the oldest and smallest ships in the fleet with double occupancy at around 2,100. When you are choosing your Carnival cruise ship class, make sure you check out everything that cruise ship has and doesn't have. You do not want to book your dream vacation only to realize that your cruise ship is missing the very thing you are looking forward to the most. For the most part, the smaller the ship class, the older and less expensive they will be, while the bigger ships are the newest and most expensive to book. Some of the pros for the newer, bigger ship classes are that you get all the latest and greatest that Carnival has to offer. Some cons to the big ships are that they are the most expensive, and also they have the most people, meaning longer lines and crowds potentially. A lot of seasoned cruisers actually like the smaller ships that have a more intimate vibe. To maximize your budget, if you want to sail on the newer class of ships, look at sailing in the off-season where you can get amazing deals. Category number 5, cabin type. Did you know that there are 8 different Carnival cruise cabins across all 29 ships?
You sit on a throne of lies.
The cabin you choose can make or break your cruise. Find out what is the best Carnival cruise cabin for you and the one cabin that you should never book unless you are okay having your cruise canceled at the last minute.
See, now that's some bullshit.
Cruises. Today we are talking about all the cruise cabin types, cabin options, and cabin locations. Stay to the end to find out which mistake I dodged to not have my cruise canceled last minute. Cruise cabins are also called staterooms. Carnival lists 8 types of staterooms, but there are really only 4 categories of cruise ship cabins with a lot of variations within. You have interior cabins with no view, cabins with a view called ocean view cabins, balcony cabins, and suites. Before we dive into each cabin type, you should know that cruise ship cabins at sea are very different than any hotel room or Airbnb you get on land. First of all, cruise ship cabins are much smaller than even the smallest of hotel rooms.
I thought it had more space!
Carnival stateroom sizes range anywhere from 135 square feet all the way up to 861 square feet. That's crazy. Almost all cruise cabins come standard with 2 twin beds that can usually be pushed together to make a larger queen size bed. Some cabins, but not all of them, also have fold down bunk beds and or convertible couches. Some cabins can fit up to 5 beds in them. Pro tip, if you are a family or a group of friends trying to cram as many people as you can into a single room, you should think twice and do the math.
It's science.
Because of the way cruise pricing works, it is often the same amount of money or less for 4 people to share 2 cabins with 2 people per cabin instead of trying to jam 4 or more people into a single cabin. Okay, let's talk about the 4 types of cruise cabins. Interior cabins. Interior cabins are the economy class cabins of cruising. They have the basics for you to live, like 2 twin beds, a table, and a bathroom. These cabins are always the smallest and least expensive, cabins with a view. The second type of cabin are those with a view, often called ocean view rooms, but without outside access. These ocean view cabins are a little bigger than interior cabins and add a convertible couch. Balcony cabins. Many people love their balcony cabins with a private balcony for fresh air and even more room. These cabins have even more room than ocean view cabins and are in high demand. Suites. Finally, suites have everything a balcony cabin has and more, including more room and even an additional perk of priority check-in and debarkation. On some of the biggest and newest ships, these suites can be huge.
The Carnival Excel Presidential Suite on the Mardi Gras even has a suite that is even 1,120 square feet.
Look at all this floor space. So much aerobics in here. So many activities.
Cruise cabin options. For each of the 4 cruise cabin types, you will also find lots of upgrades. For interior cabins, one upgrade is getting a fake view of the outside world that is basically a TV acting as a window. Some cabins are a little bit larger than others or have things like being in a corner cabin or suite. The other big option are specialty cabins. That is how Carnival comes up with their 8 cabin types. 4 of them are actually specialty cabins. You have Cloud9 Spa, Family Harbor, Havana, and Terraza cabins. The Cloud9 Spa cabin is where you get access to spa facilities, a nicer interior, and some extra amenities like bath products and a Cloud9 branded robe to wear. Note that you do not get any free spa services like a facial or massage, just access to things like the thermal spa and sauna. Pro tip, even if you have a normal cabin, you can pay extra for access to the spa. This is not listed on the Carnival website. You just need to go talk to the spa front desk to get this. Check out this tour of the Carnival Radiance Cloud9 Spa if you want to check out more. The Family Harbor cabin is similar to Cloud9 in that it has a family vibe to it and is located closer to the family area and has a few small extras. The Havana and Terraza rooms are Carnival's partial implementation of the ship within a ship concept, where there is a restricted area of the cruise ship that only people who book these cabins get access to. Which cabin are you going to get for your next cruise? Let me know in the comments below. Cruise cabin location. The location of your cruise cabin might have a bigger impact on your cruise than even the cruise cabin type, especially if you are prone to seasickness or loud noises. Carnival ships can have as many as 19 different decks. Many expert cruisers are very careful which deck they pick. The higher up the deck, the more expensive usually, because most people like being closer to the Lido deck or the outdoor deck of the ship. However, there are many benefits to booking a lower cabin. For one, bottom decks rock a lot less, and if you are prone to seasickness, you will feel the ship rocking a lot less on a bottom deck. Some of the lower decks are actually closer to a lot of other things like the heart of the ship, the main atrium, all the entertainment, the casino, and food like the main dining room. The other aspect of location to consider is if you are in the forward part of the ship, or middle of the ship, or aft, the back of the ship. The mid part of the ship will be more stable and you will feel less motion in the ocean. When deciding which cruise cabin to book, make sure you check out the cruise ship floor plan in case you are a light sleeper and you don't want a room right by the nightclubs or right under the Lido deck because you will hear all the chairs getting moved in the morning. This is something else that an experienced PvP will be able to help you figure out. While you are looking at the floor plan, you might find a few room shapes that are different than the typical long and skinny rectangle shape of most rooms. Check out this video where I show you how I found this interior cabin that feels more like a suite. Choosing a location is best by looking at your ship plan and deciding what you want to be closer to or farther away from. This could be things like crowds, noise, the elevators, or even smoke. You might also want to consider the food, the casino, the shops, the pool, or the Lido deck and sunshine if you want to be closer or farther away from those things. Now, if this video has been helpful, please subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know that you want to see more videos like this and support me and this channel. Guaranteed cabin. The one cabin I never recommend for people to get is a guaranteed cabin. This is where you spend less money and let Carnival pick a stateroom for you to save a few bucks. I have heard some horror stories when Carnival will overbook and people with a guaranteed cabin get bumped and miss their entire vacation. Recommendation. Okay, so those are the 5 main categories to consider when booking your first cruise. Budget, destination, sailing dates, cruise ship class, and cruise ship cabin type. The first step in planning your cruise is to figure out which of these 5 matter to you the most. A bonus is if you take the time to actually rank from most to least important, because that will help you a lot and make it easier when you start searching for your cruise. For my first cruise, budget was my highest priority as I was still pretty rich and at the time barely made more than minimum wage. My other important priority was date because I worked for a church, so I needed to find a cruise that was Monday to Saturday, and with our busy schedule, I only had a handful of weeks that I could go on a vacation. For me, location was closely tied to budget because I live within driving distance of the port, so I wanted to find a cruise that sailed out of that port. Having this priority structure makes it so much easier to find and plan your first cruise. Knowing my priorities, I went to the Carnival website to search for cruises that sailed out of Long Beach during specific dates that I knew I was available. And then I looked for the cheapest cruise that fit that criteria. These days, I work for myself, so my priorities have shifted. I still love sailing out of Long Beach for the convenience, but I have sailed on the Radiance 3 times already, so I'm ready to check out some new ships like the Firenze and Panorama. If this video was helpful, check out this next video here. So much stuff.